In the previous video and in upcoming videos, I show a 6-step process enabling you to take something that's happening in your life that's causing some degree of emotional pain or intense stress, and how to use those painful feelings to emotionally link back to a specific childhood event. The 6-step process will never change, but what will change is how our emotional self hijacks the different areas of our lives to give us messages on how specific childhood events have stayed within the deeper parts of us, which we can bring to the surface for us to deal with now that our emotional palette has fully developed the ability to create the feelings that we should have felt in our past childhood events, the childhood events that cause us to experience something close to adult emotional reactions. If you're new to this party, then you may want to check out this playlist right here, explaining the internal process of why you are in so much emotional pain. The 6-step process of emotional linking back will always remain the same, no matter what area of our lives we are using it on, be it using it on negative soundtracks, projected answers, or living with ongoing physical pain, and so on. We will go through the 6-step process in other videos, as this video is dedicated to show you how to build confidence in step 4, which allows you to emotionally link back to a specific childhood event, as it's step 4 that's the most difficult part to build up confidence in, as it's in step 4 where we achieve the emotional link back to our past by holding on to the feelings that we have been building up during steps 1 to 3, and as we focus on our center, we wonder and wonder when, back in our childhood, we experienced the same or similar feelings to the ones that we have been working with. The reason why step 4 is so difficult is because we must trust that our emotional self will help us to emotionally link back by putting the thought of a painful childhood memory popping into our mind. But I completely understand that by letting go and following step 4 part of the process, you will be using a new internal muscle, developing a new skill and learning even more about how your emotions communicate to you, which means that you will feel as though you are on unfamiliar ground, which may make you feel unsure if what you are doing in step 4 is correct or not. Building up confidence in step 4. The answer to this problem is building up your confidence when it comes to using step 4 to enable your emotional self to put a memory of a painful childhood event into your mind. So in order for you to begin building your confidence, in this video we're going to be looking at some abstract art, as the way that we use our emotions that the abstract art creates within us, which we then use those feelings to help decode the art and put meaning to the images that we see. This is a very similar process of when we ask our emotional self to give us a childhood memory that we still carry pain about during step 4 of the process. This is, I want to know how to feel good. You will need to focus on your center while you look at this artwork, which whenever you focus on your center, normally you would do this with your eyes pointed downwards towards the floor. But you will still see, if you take your time, that you can still focus on your center whilst you're looking at the screen. Okay, ready? Here goes. Let's start off with an easy one. Focus on your center and let's see how this art makes you feel, and look out for a thought popping into mind when you see this artwork. Pretty easy, right? When you saw this image, your mind went to something like this. Okay, maybe that was a bit too easy. Let's see if we can turn that difficulty up a notch. Focus on your center and see what comes to mind when you see this. Okay, this one was a little bit more abstract than the Lego image, but if something like this came to mind, then you are on the right track. Okay, we're 2 for 2. Let's see if we can turn the difficulty up to an even higher notch. Focus on your center and see what image comes to your mind when you see this. Now, this is where we will split, as what I see will be completely different to what you see, which is intentional on my part. Whatever answer came to your mind when you saw this artwork is your answer that is absolutely fine and should always be trusted. But the answer that came to my mind when I saw this artwork was this. This is called the Angel of the North, and it's an art installation that's not too far from where I live. Hence, when I saw the artwork, the Angel of the North came to my mind. And I'm betting that now that you see the Angel of the North in this artwork, right? This is an important point to keep in mind. The fact that we both came up with different answers when we looked at the art is perfectly normal. But the fact that we came up with different answers, it begs the question, whose answer was right and whose answer was wrong? I mean, once you saw the Angel of the North, you changed your answer about the art. So does this indicate that my answer was right and your answer was wrong? Absolutely not. The only person that's wrong here is me, for even asking the question that suggests that your initial answers could have been wrong just because you changed your mind. The way our emotional self works when it's given us thoughts that pop into our mind is solely based on our own personal experiences. Hence I saw the Angel of the North in this artwork, since I've seen this installation many times. And when I showed you the picture of the Angel of the North and then showed you the artwork again, since you had an experience similar to me in seeing the same image that I've seen, meaning that you also then see the Angel of the North in the artwork. What we can take from this is how our initial thoughts and opinions can change if we hear something that we perceive is more of a truthful interpretation than our own, which we'll talk more about later in this video. Are you with me so far? Okay, let's turn this bitch up to an 11 and let's see what comes to mind as you look at this next extreme piece of abstract art. And I'll give you more time on this one. Focus on your center and see what image comes to your mind when you see this. Okay, what came to mind when you saw that art? Hold on to those thoughts and I'll let you know what came to my mind first. What I see in this art is that my emotional self is trying to put colour and meaning into my life. And that in order for me to see this colour, I must accept that all of the colour and the meaning that my emotional self is trying to give me is not even half of the full picture. And that even though I want the colour to run down and fill the whole of this picture, I must see that my emotional self doesn't work in the way that I want it to. That I am not complete and that sadly, I must let go and accept that I will only ever see a small part of the colour that my life could be filled with. Wow, I got all that from that one image. What came to your mind when you saw the art? You had your own thoughts about the art that came to your mind, before I told you my views on what my emotional self told me about the image. So I ask, do you still agree with what came to your mind about the artwork? Or have your opinions now changed now that you've heard my opinion? If you still agree with your thoughts about the art, then are you trying to make yourself believe that you still agree with your initial thoughts? Do you still feel the emotions that those initial thoughts created? Or do you experience the feelings from what I said about the art? Or the other side of this coin, after hearing what came to my mind about the art, do you no longer agree with the thoughts that came to you about the art, having now adopted what I said as your own truth? What I'm about to say may come as a tough pill to swallow, but whatever you saw in this artwork, whatever your emotional self told you by giving you thoughts popping into your mind about what the artwork means and what it represents, is the most important thoughts and opinions that you could hear. As the thoughts that came to your mind are a reflection of you, and if you adopt mine or someone else's opinions, then the reflection of you is that you copied someone else's ideas and passed them off as your own. Applying this knowledge to step 4 and letting your emotional self do its job. When it comes to working with step 4 of the process of emotionally linking back, where we must let go and wonder when back in our childhood we experience the same or similar feelings to the feelings that we have been working with, then in order to let your emotional self do its job by giving you a childhood memory to work with, it's essential that whatever painful childhood memory comes to mind, you see this as the correct answer that you have been searching for. Just like the answers that came to you when you decoded the artwork in this video. Whichever childhood memory comes to mind during step 4 is the correct memory, as it's the correct memory because it's a reflection of you and no one else. It isn't about me or what anybody else thinks. It's all about you and what your emotional self is trying, sometimes desperately, about the things that are going on within the deeper parts of you. The problem with looking to others for guidance when working with step 4. Whenever we feel unsure about something, we naturally want to look to other people to what they think, which we can use as guidance. But the trouble with this is, whenever we feel unsure and we look to other people's opinions, we so easily naturally take their opinions on board as our own. But when we take on another person's opinions over our own, just because the other person's opinion may seem more thought out, or maybe just because they speak with more confidence, we forget that we may be comparing our chapter 3 to their chapter 63. How to apply this knowledge into step 4 of emotionally linking back. If you want to listen to your emotional self, if you want to hear it a little bit better and with a bit more clarity, then the best way that you can do this is to embrace that it's okay to feel unsure during step 4 of emotionally linking back. And that just because you feel unsure if you're doing it correctly or not, it doesn't mean that you have to look outside yourself for answers and guidance. Other people can't tell you what you should be thinking or feeling with accuracy, as whenever they do this, it's more a reflection of them than it is of you. But whenever we look to others for answers, their answers easily become your answers, just because all of us have forgotten how to embrace the power of trying something new. And for the first times walking this new path, we will experience doubt in our abilities, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling doubt. This is why, peppered through my videos, I let you know and remind you that I'm not a psychologist and I have had no training in any of the mental health professions. As something I was trying to point you towards whenever I said this, was that I don't know the specific answers of why you feel so bad. But I only know the internal processes involved, like how to use your guidance feelings, for example. And I know how to get you in touch with a part of you that does know exactly what it is causing you to feel bad or to feel terrible. And it's only in step 4 of emotionally linking back where you will develop the experience of directly working with this higher part of you, which we refer to as your emotional self. With this in mind, I'll end by asking, how about from this point we make a deal? Actually no, a deal ain't right, that's not what I meant to say. How about from this point on, we come to an understanding, which is that you're an expert on your life and your emotional self knows so much more about what's happened to you in your life, and it knows exactly how it's affected you, and it knows how to get you out of your personal path of pain. So much more than I or anyone else around you could ever know, unless they're a mental health professional, of course. But in this understanding, the truth is, I only know how to get you in touch with your emotional self, which is the higher part of you. This means that with this new understanding, even though you may feel unsure about using your emotional self to communicate things to you about your past, whatever painful childhood memory comes to your mind during step 4, you just trust it and run with it, no matter what childhood memory comes to mind. And not even think of looking to others for answers and guidance as to what thoughts should be coming to mind, or what you should be feeling, just because this is new and you feel unsure. As it's only by trusting this part of the process that you are putting yourself first and letting go what you think that I or someone else around you thinks is right for you, which we could never know. I know that you can do this, but you're going to have to show yourself through your experience that you can successfully emotionally link back to a past and painful childhood memory. With that said, thank you so much for watching. And I want to say a thank you to the new subscribers that I gained last week. And I'll see you in the next video.